Welcome to the Freak Show. Now, many times I've been asked by viewers what's my favorite and least favorite season of American Horror Story. Well, for many years I've said Hotel is my favorite and Murder House is my least favorite. And I'm here to confess that that isn't necessarily true. There's no shame though, but in order for you to properly understand what I'm about to say, we must discuss the Quentin Tarantino effect and how it applies to American Horror Story. Now, spoiler warning on every season of American Horror Story in all of Quentin Tarantino's movies. Of course, for those of you out there who haven't watched them. Now, links for all of the images that you see in this video can be found in the description. So don't watch this video if you haven't watched American Horror Story or Quentin Tarantino's movies. Now, first, let's discuss the Quentin Tarantino effect. Now, I think this section can be summed up with just one question. Name one bad Quentin Tarantino movie. And I'm not talking about one that you personally didn't like. I'm talking about one that he made that wasn't a major blockbuster or a hit with fans and critics. Reservoir Dogs may have been his second movie, and though it didn't receive a Hollywood red carpet debut, it was a huge hit. Now here's a refresh on Quentin Tarantino's movie, and the script basis for True Romance isn't included as only 36 minutes of the film still exist and can't be critiqued. And of course at the end I will tell you why this applies and how to American Horror Story. Number 1, Reservoir Dogs. Genius characters, storytelling, and an even brilliant ending. When the best robbers come together to rob a jewelry store, their plan is foiled when it turns out that one of them is an undercover police officer. Tim Roth is simply outstanding as Freddie Neuendijk, and this is a perfect example of Quentin Tarantino's perfectly written characters combined with his incredible storytelling. It may be his lowest grossing movie, but Reservoir Dogs remains one of my favorites as it was the first Quentin Tarantino movie I ever watched and immediately fell in love with his style of storytelling and the characters. I easily immersed myself into them. Pulp Fiction. A discombobulated hodgepodge of stories all come together in this incredible tale told through the eyes of blockbuster stars like Uma Thurman, John Travolta, Eric Stoltz, and Rosanna Arquette, just to name a few. And though Reservoir Dogs was well received, it was Pulp Fiction that catapulted Tarantino to blockbuster success. It may be his third grossing movie of all time, well, as of the making of this video, but when you think Quentin Tarantino, I'm positive that the first movie that you think of is Pulp Fiction. Jackie Brown. This is simply an outstanding movie with memorable characters, mesmerizing events, and without a doubt had some of the best writing with incredible dialogue. Jackie Brown isn't action-packed, with only, violent scenes appearing sporadically throughout the film, much like Reservoir Dogs. But it was the relationships between the characters and their impressive conversations that made the film mesmerizing and fun as fuck to watch. Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2. Hands down, the Kill Bill movies are not only spectacular, they're spect-fucking-tacular. If you haven't watched them, you're missing out. It's a captivating, violent tale of revenge mixed in with some of the most excellent fighting sequences to date. If you love old karate, martial art movies, women with swords kicking ass while chopping off a limb, combined with just plain old-fashioned violence, then Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2 are definitely for you. Though both movies are considered as one by Quentin Tarantino and fans, both movies are his fourth and fifth top-grossing movies. Death Proof. Now, I'm partial to this Quentin Tarantino movie as I watched him and his crew film the movie right behind my apartment in Austin, Texas, and at one of my favorite spots, the Omelet Tree. Death Proof followed a psychopath who loved to kill beautiful young girls with his death-proof car. This is another great movie with great cameos, well-developed characters for, spoiler, such a short amount of time to know them, and too smart for their own good dialogue. Inglourious Basterds. Now, who doesn't love watching Nazis being beat to death? I know I sure do. And I wasn't the only one. Inglourious Basterds is Quentin Tarantino's second top-grossing movie. This gem is another captivating story following a Jewish young woman after her family is slaughtered in war-torn Paris, and a group of Nazi killers who call themselves the Bastards. I simply adore this movie, as I was literally on the edge of my seat during most of the tense sequences, which were aplenty, and I had a huge crush on the character Hugo Stiglitz. I don't care who you are. If you can shove your entire fist down a man's throat simply to murder him, we're dating. Django Unchained. This film was freaking brutal as Quentin Tarantino highlights the suffering of slaves and their treatment from their, quote, owners in 1858. The story follows a German bounty hunter who aids a freed slave in the quest to find his wife. Jamie Foxx, Christopher Waltz, and Leo DiCaprio bring their fucking A-game with outstanding performances. I mean, my favorite theme of the movie is the way that Tarantino demonstrates the brutal reality Black people endured as purchased slaves. Because I honestly think that this is a part of history that should never be forgotten, so it will never be repeated. Ever. Django Unchained is the top grossing Quentin Tarantino movie, so do yourself a favor and watch it because you're in for one hell of a fantastic and powerful movie. The Hateful Eight. With this gem, the dialogue and sudden twists are the meat of the movie. While escorting a prisoner, a bounty hunter holds up at Minnie's haberdashery to avoid a snowstorm in 1877. But the guests aren't exactly who they portrayed themselves to be. Now, in my opinion, The Hateful Eight reminds me very much of Reservoir Dogs, as the violence is periodic. The movie depends on the story, which mainly focuses on the dialogue amongst the guests habitating the cabin. Now, it's ranked over $54 million at the box office and falls just under the Kill Bill movie. Now that we've reviewed his movies, can't say which of these are the best and worst, can you? Now, I'm sure there are some of you out there that can easily answer this question, but I'm assuming the rest of you are like me, and it's hard for you to pick the best and the worst. Even Quentin Tarantino's collaborations are incredible. You know, he has 4 Rooms, From Dusk Till Dawn. All of those are outstanding collaborative films. He tends to focus very much, though, on revenge, backstories, and existential dialogue. So the Quentin Tarantino effect is this. A brilliant person combined with other brilliant people create gold because they shit quality work. So let's compare this theory to American Horror Story and Ryan Murphy. Well, we know Ryan Murphy is brilliant. We know this from previous television shows he's created. Glee, Nip Tuck, Scream Queens, Pose, 911, and so on. He's even written one and directed many movies. But we all know American Horror Story is exceptional, and the main reason, let's face it, that you're here. So let's review the past seasons of American Horror Story with the Quentin Tarantino effect in mind. And I'd also like to say that Ryan is focused on backstories, characters, and he's obsessed with the mother-son relationship, as evident in the past seasons of American Horror Story. So we see 2 men focused on certain points of their storytelling, mainly backstories being part of it. Murder House, the pilot season, the one which introduced us to the series. This season was everything. Memorable characters, and a story with plenty of twists and turns to fill a maze many times over. 3.18 million viewers tuned in to the first season, making its mark on pop culture and television history. Asylum. Lord have mercy on our souls. This season had everything and we absolutely loved it. And it's no wonder when a season has aliens, demonic possession, multiple serial killers, nuns and their painful whippings, all wrapped up into a dark-ass asylum that was as much of a character as Sister Jude. 3.85 million viewers watched Lana Winters survive the asylum, and season 2 is the go-to season for comparison when a new American Horror Story season premieres. Coven. Witches, murder, magic, and Jessica Lange as our supreme girls. Enough said. And I have to say, the racial hate demonstrated during this season was brutally realistic. The young Black man hung from a tree simply because of his color still haunts me all these years later. This was another critically acclaimed, successful season and opened the show to a whole new broad spectrum of viewers. Freak Show. Freak Show. This season is one of my personal favorites as it highlighted the persecution of those not considered quote-unquote normal. Much like Coven, the true horror of the series was the underlying message missed by most viewers. Coven highlighted the horror of hatred towards others, especially witches and African Americans, which sadly still exists. And Freak Show highlighted the hatred and treatment by society to those who were considered different because of maybe a mental or a physical difference. I mean, can you imagine what would happen today if Jimmy and his group were refused service at a diner anywhere in America? Now, aside from Freak Show's incredible characters and sometimes bland storyline, its deep messages like this make seasons like Coven, Freak Show, and Cult shine brightly with critics and fans around the world. Hotel. Now, this was a season. John Lowe's descent into his own maddening world that he built, what Alex did to keep her son, Sally's search for unconditional love. I mean, there's just so many components to Hotel that I simply cannot cover them all. Nearly 6 million viewers had their wigs snatched during this 12-episode season. And that's a lot of wigs, my friends. Roanoke. Now, I love watching Roanoke when my family is asleep and it's all dark and scary. This season stood out to me as something solely based on scare, not story or developing characters, though we did get those. Now, obviously, there's a great story and awesome characters, but the focus of the season was on scaring the viewer the good old-fashioned way, which hit well with critics and fans. It's nice to simply watch this season and allow you to let the season do its job, which is just scare you. Cult. Cult is a season you either love or hate. There's simply no in-between with this successful season taking aim at America's political system, misogyny, feminism, cults, and how it all impacts various minds of the characters inside this season. Now, normally these topics would have been a salacious background to a major storyline. However, this season, it was front and center. For this season, it just didn't matter if the fans loved or hated Cult, because they couldn't stop watching it, even the critics. Apocalypse. Do I even need to really justify this season? I mean, Jessica Lange, our witches, they were all back, baby! Much like Kill Bill Volume 2, Apocalypse was a sequel to its much-loved predecessor, Coven. This season didn't do very well in the Nielsen ratings, however, it was stamped as a successful sequel season. Yes, that even includes Mallory running over the Antichrist with a car. So how does American Horror Story compare to Quentin Tarantino and his incredible movies? First of all, you have one incredible anthology and one set of incredible movies. It's difficult for me to pick a worst American Horror Story season because there isn't one. Surely it's easy to pick a favorite, or maybe a best, like Season 2, Asylum, or maybe the Kill Bill movies or something like that, just to grab it out of thin air. But it's sincerely difficult to choose a worst season or a worst movie. Again, I'm sure this isn't difficult for some of you out there who know firmly what you like and what you don't, and that's totally cool. So stick around and finish watching the video because this is the best American Horror Story channel on YouTube. I mean, the American Horror Story Awards said so. But my point is, for me and for most of American Horror Story fandom, we can't pinpoint which season is the worst because we don't feel there is a worst season. Just like there isn't a bad Quentin Tarantino movie, there isn't a bad American Horror Story season. Now, secondly, we have two brilliant men surrounded by equally brilliant people who shit gold. It's almost like one is the keymaster and the other one is the gatekeeper. We have to get these two together. I'd love to take a moment to thank my patrons whose generosity pays for the prizes I give away to you. Vic and Stark, Alicia, Mia, and baby Jalen George, Jeremy Oren, Irish Melly, Chase 101, Kenny Joseph, Michael Mullins Wright, Joseph Anthony, Kinky Kitty, Dawn Ford, Diana Fitzgerald, Jill Post, Kevin Odom, Deep Thinker and Hogwarts Pupil, Princess Faith, Sue Maywan, Cody Begg, Cody Spencer, Mike Gedney, and Debbie Epibabebi. To become a patron and earn a ton of rewards and live streams just for $1, go to the link in the description. Show some love to my patrons and to me by clicking the like button so I'll make more weird American Horror Story theory videos. So, like I said before, I lied. I was just too afraid to tell everybody I really didn't have a least liked season of American Horror Story, and it was terribly complicated to explain why without going into a long diatribe about it. Just like I did in this video. So, what do you think of the Quentin Tarantino effect and how it compares to American Horror Story? It's yours to tear apart or like in the comments because, let's face it, you will. Now, make sure you let me know if you have a worst and favorite American Horror Story season or Quentin Tarantino movie, as I do love reading your comments. Especially when I'm wrong, because there's things that I simply don't think of when I make these videos. That's why they're theories. Now, more theory videos are on the way, such as my speculation on season 9 and the story behind the theme. And also, we're going to be taking a look back to connect all of the witches in the American Horror Story universe. So click that subscribe button or just, come back and mosey around my channel at a later date. Now, American Horror Story weekly Wednesday live streams are every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on my channel and at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time for my patrons. Thank you all so much for watching, and of course, beware of sexy scatfish.
VHS Apocalypse premieres Wednesday, September 12th on FX.
Fuck. Fuck, he doesn't suck, you son of a bitch. So, on a scale of 1 to pi, how chapped is your ass? 1 to pi. Clever little article.